Hello, welcome to Dare to Speak Difficult Conversations That Change Everything. So, this is the first episode in my podcast, Dare to Speak, and it's been a long time in development. I've been a psychotherapist and a psychologist working with clients for the last 25 years, and before that, I was a philosopher thinking about how we speak and how we feel, how the way that we act in the world impacts on the way we talk to people and our relationships. And this idea for a podcast has been forming in my head. And like lots of things, it starts with a difficult conversation. Sometimes the difficult conversations are anybody going to be interested? Or why should I do it? Or will anybody listen? Or what's the point? But there is a point, and so over time, this podcast, Dare to Speak, difficult conversations that change everything, started to form in my head. And why does it matter? Well, it matters because in conflict, in family breakdown, in family turmoil, in life turmoil, in being resilient, being persistent, silence can cost us a lot. Now, many of us, we were told, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all, or be seen but not heard. And whether you're a man or whether you're a woman, silence comes at a price. And so this podcast is called Dare to Speak because the reality is that when we do dare to speak, we really are daring something. We're daring change. We're daring transformation. We're daring to see whether we can act in a way that makes life different for us and for the people around us. And it's quite natural to feel that that will be a risk. The truth is that difficult conversations, how we have them, is a skill. I believe it is a skill. In society, it's very easy to see it as a talent. Some people are just good at it. Some people are really hard at it. Oh, I don't like conflict. Oh, that person's much better at handling conflict. But actually, in the 25 years that I've been a therapist and I've been working and really tackling, even going to a therapeutic space or a coaching space means having a difficult conversation with yourself. Who should I pick? Where should I go? Can I afford it? Is it worth the investment? Will it be any good? And these are all difficult conversations. So a difficult conversation isn't just about a big topic. And I've had some of those in my life. When my beloved dog Fenrir was ill and I had to tell the family, tell the children that he wasn't going to make it. That was a difficult conversation. When my ex-husband asked for a divorce, and at the time I was furious. I really was. But now I'm very grateful because he had that difficult conversation, a difficult conversation that changed everything. And initially, it looked like a difficult conversation that was going to change everything for the worse. That's certainly how it felt at the time. I can tell you that. But actually, it was a difficult conversation that really ultimately changed everything for the better. So a difficult conversation can be the repeated request. Oh, why can't you put the bins out? Why do I have to keep remembering? Why am I always the one who has to manage the finances or pay the bills or um, know when things happen? But a difficult conversation can also be speaking with your child about the fact that they really do need to go to the dentist. Because when we have toothache, we need to go to the dentist and we need to get it sorted out. We need to get it dealt with. Or the child who's worried because they have forgotten their lines for the school play. And they're so worried about forgetting it that they're keeping quiet and they're starting to get stomach aches and headaches. And we know that something is wrong, but we want to be able to support them with that difficult conversation because we know, and we definitely say, and you may have said this if you have children in your life or you have people in your lives, if you've got a problem, speak up. We hear things like, there are no stupid questions. But the reality is that asking and speaking up, especially for men, but also for women and for children, means having that difficult conversation. Am I stupid? Is my question foolish? So the roots of silence go back in our lives, and they go back within cultural history, regardless of your culture. Silence is built in very often. The job of this podcast is to go into that space and explore it. I'm blessed with all the brilliant people who've worked with me over the years who've taught me so much. They've had those difficult conversations and they've given me the opportunity to guide them through their difficult conversations. And I've learnt so much along the way. And this podcast, Dare to Speak, Difficult Conversations That Change Everything, is about sharing the wisdom, sharing the insight, sharing the reflections that have risen over the years of working with brave and courageous people who wanted to know how to tackle their difficult conversations. You know, I'm minded of a client who came to me because they were feeling that they were slipping into depression. For somebody who is concerned and worrying about that, being able to open up and speak to somebody about that, people very often feel shame. They feel that it's their fault. They feel that they should know how to deal with stuff, but they don't. People disguise it by working really hard or not working at all, by taking on too many challenges or no challenges whatsoever. Wherever we are at it in this situation, at the root of it is that conversation that we are having with ourselves and sometimes that conversation we're having with other people. Several years ago, I decided that had to. I had to start sharing some of the things that I'd learned along the way. Because what I was noticing is that people sit isolated. They sit alone with these difficult conversations, with these thoughts that go round and round and round that perhaps keep them up at night or keep them worrying or keep them distressed or keep them searching for a book or another podcast or somewhere where they can get some solutions to the problems that they're facing. So, Dare to Speak, Difficult Conversations That Can Change Everything was born. I had those difficult conversations with myself. And I decided, you know what? Yes, it's the right thing to do. So I created this podcast. Now, each episode is going to be around 20 minutes. Maybe some of them will be 30 minutes long, some might be shorter. But I will be bringing out a new podcast every single week. The first 7 episodes of the podcast are going to be a resource that explains why I'm doing the podcast, a little bit about me, a little bit around how I work and my approach, my experience. There will be insights and there will be reflections so that you can get to know me along the way. That's the aim of these first 7 episodes, to allow you to work out whether my voice sits well with you, whether you like it, whether my approach aligns with what you are thinking, whether or not there is reflections and insights and tools and strategies that I share that you find useful and helpful in your own difficult conversations. All of us have really individual lives, but some of the difficulties that we face, that you face, will be difficulties that other people have faced. And when we share knowledge and information, we can pick up tools, we can pick up tips, or sometimes what we do is that we just pick up knowing that somebody else got through this difficult situation. And if somebody else did it, maybe you can. Maybe I can. And that's what Dare to Speak is about. It's about difficult conversations that really can change everything in our lives. So you can listen to all the episodes, you can browse, you can have new episodes every week coming into your account wherever you listen. But you can also go to my website and have a look at the free resources. I really do feel it's important to share what we learn along the way. You know, therapy coaching has to be private and confidential for the people who are in it. It really does. It has to be. But the insights and knowledge and reflection from the sheer privilege of doing life coaching with people over so many years, we can share those aspects. And that's why, as a really important part of Dare to Speak, difficult conversations that change everything, I am inviting, and I will continue to invite, this isn't an opening show offer. If you have a difficult conversation coming up or you've got a difficult situation, reach out to me. If you go to my website, which is www.evestanway.co.uk, and it's in the show notes, you'll find that there's loads of ways to connect with me on social media. You can email me, you can WhatsApp me, you can book a call with me, but you can share what your situation is or what your quandary is or what you maybe feel, I'm sitting by myself with this. I want to know, do other people have this problem too? And I'll create an episode around that. Because the aim of this podcast isn't for me to have an idea in advance of everything you need to know. It's about me bringing my knowledge and my experience, both personal, lived, and from my coaching and from my studies and from my reflections and from I moved house recently, so I've realised how many thousands of books I've got that I've read. It's about me bringing you into the space where we can meet each other where you are at. Because one of the primary motivations for this podcast was really seeing that people are very alone. Even when my husband asked me for a divorce, or when I was dealing with my dog, or all the other difficult situations that have happened to me in my life, there's that moment where we feel alone. And Dare to Speak, this podcast, is me reaching out into your phone, into your screen, however you're watching me, and connecting and saying you're not alone. That difficult conversation that you're circling around, that you're worried about, that you're not sure how to have. That's a difficult conversation that we can work out together. So thank you for joining me today. In my next episode, I'm going to share a little bit, not too much, it's not going to be a complete dump, but I am going to share a little bit about my background so that you know a little bit more about who I am and why I'm doing this. Because I think it's important to know who somebody is when we're listening to them and when they're kind of coming into our lives and sharing this information. And so that's what the next episode will be about. And then going forwards into these 7 episodes, I will be sharing my approach, why I'm a coaching psychotherapist, and I will be sharing real examples so that you can begin to see and get a flavour and an idea of how this work happens. And you can come into my world by contacting me, because you're welcome to help guide that process too. So thank you for joining me today. If this episode has resonated with you, please follow. Please find me on socials. Please find me at my website. Please share this. I want this podcast to have a reach so that wherever somebody is and whatever situation they're at and whatever difficult conversation they're tackling in their lives, and we've all got them, yeah, whether it's because we need to renegotiate our Sky bill, yeah, although other providers are available, that's still a difficult conversation. And tackling it is what this podcast is all about. So take care of yourself, and I look forward to seeing you at the next one. Thank you.